Good evening. I see now what Congressman asked me meant about not being able to see anything out there with the bright lights. It's a great honor for me to be here to make this presentation. I do feel a little bit inadequate in light of all that's been said already, even by so many remarkable people who have said it. But I am at least going to introduce a very remarkable man. It is a delight and an honor to give my brief remarks, as I've been ordered to do, of someone who I've admired for over 20 years. He has championed justice in many venues, but I will focus only on the one that I have a fair amount of personal knowledge about. I urge you to look at the printed program at the rest of what this individual has done. He is currently the CEO of MINAC, a organization that supports the Job Corps program in a very meaningful way here in Mississippi. I met the honoree. He goes by the full name on the program, Augustus Leon Collins. I always called him General. Those who don't have to do that call him Leon, I believe. Our granddad, he's got a wonderful grandson with him today. We were both in the Mississippi National Guard. He for much longer and at much higher rank than I. One of my many favorable opinions of him, and perhaps the one I think of first when I think of General Collins, is that he treats everyone with respect. In the military, there are a lot of situations where respect is hard to earn, but he always did treat those in his command, beneath him and otherwise, with great respect. Each soldier was a real person, not just a service number, and he figured out what the needs were and dealt with them. I saw that instinctive fairness even more clearly when he was the commander of 4,500 troops, most from Mississippi, but some from elsewhere, in Iraq in 2005. Our mission was to keep the peace and to provide humanitarian relief in a large swath of Iraq, southwest of Baghdad. General Collins was fearless. He went out almost every day with a team to go to local villages and elsewhere to help maintain order and help provide the kind of relief that we were there to do. I think his combination of forcefulness and friendliness had a lot to do with the success of our mission in Iraq during that year. He even turned down the 15 days of leave that we all were entitled to be flown home or wherever we wanted to go to get away from the stresses of that combat environment. He decided to stay with the troops and not take that option. Several years after we returned, the then governor named him the Adjutant General of Mississippi. A lot of you wouldn't know the importance of that, and I wouldn't say that I would had I not been in the National Guard. It is the top office for a National Guardsman in every state. Each state has an Adjutant General. He is the commander of that state's National Guard. General Collins was the 61st Adjutant General, and he was appointed by the 64th governor. Fewer adjutant generals than governors. They must be more important than governors, I would say. You don't need to tell Governor Bryant that. I will close with something he said about himself when a reporter asked him to comment on one of his latest accomplishments several years ago. General Collins says, "I am a common man, nothing particularly special about me. God chose me for a purpose, but he could just as easily have chosen somebody else. I beg to differ. I date myself, I expect, but that statement about being chosen for a purpose makes me think of the movie Chariots of Fire, about some runners in the 1924 Olympics. One of them, the gold medal winning Scot, Eric Liddell, said, "God made me for a purpose, but he also made me fast." Well, my opinion is that God knew exactly what he was doing in making Leon Collins. He made him a man of integrity and compassion and bravery. This man was the right person in the right place in the military, but also the right person in all the other places for which he is being honored tonight. General Collins, will you come up? the right one. Your turn.
You're right, it's awfully bright up here. I can see the folks at these tables, but I can't see any of you. To Ms. Wade, Mr. Morris, to all the members of the Mississippi Center for Justice, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you, Judge Southwick, for that introduction. I've been approached by several people tonight to say, how do you know the judge? Well, as he mentioned, we spent some time in Iraq back in 2005. I was a commander of the 155th Brigade Combat Team, and Judge Southwick was my staff judge advocate. Now, I know we got a room full of attorneys and lawyers here. You know what a staff judge advocate is in the military. That means he was my personal attorney. And we spent a lot of time together. Let me tell you, when you're in a combat zone, a lot of things can happen. And there's a lot of paperwork that has to be completed. And I do remember, as we'd been there for almost our full year, and it was coming time to the close, we were actually going to come back to the United States, and I asked him this one question. I said, Leslie, what have we done that 5 years from now, you and I are going to be called to go and testify before a congressional subcommittee? He assured me that we were clean. Well, 5 years came and 5 years went and no testimony. So he did a great job. I really don't feel worthy of the honor that's being bestowed upon me tonight. Leslie, I still tell people that there's nothing special about Leon Collins. I'm just no country boy from Boonville, Mississippi. But I tell you what I am. I'm a man who has been extremely blessed by a God who does everything exceedingly well. And I thank him for ordering my steps, but I also thank him for putting people in my path over the years, people who have helped guide me and steer me when it looked like I was about to color outside the line. There's a bunch of people that I could thank tonight, but I'm just going to thank a few. I'm going to start with my parents, Leroy and Deborah Williams. Now, I know when those two get to heaven, there's going to be an awful lot of stars in their crown. Because let me tell you, when I was a young man, I was a handful. But they didn't give up on me. They believed in me, and they encouraged me. And then there's a group of folks from my community in Boonville. You know, the mothers and fathers of the community. The people who used to grab me by the ear, you know, pinch me on the thigh, and slap me on the back of the head. Now, I know some of your attorneys are saying, well, that's child abuse. Well, it wasn't child abuse back then. It was a way of getting somebody's attention. And they did. And they believed in me also and helped me move forward. And they encouraged me that I could be something other than just a tractor driver. So I thank them for that. I'm thankful for my family who has supported me over these years, especially during my military service, 35 years. I've had an opportunity to wear the uniform of the United States Army. Now, I don't have a lot of family with me tonight. My oldest son, William, lives out in California, so he couldn't make it back in for the event tonight. My youngest son, Benjamin, now this is where I brag, is in Chicago. He lives in Houston, Texas now, but he's in Chicago tonight because tomorrow morning he competes for the national powerlifting competition for the United States. Yeah. And Deborah's there with him instead of being here with me. But I do have one member of my family here tonight. That's my little buddy Trey down here. That's my road dog. And he goes with me wherever I go. So Trey, thank you for being here. Tonight you're recognizing me, but let me tell you the true heroes in this room are the folks who belong to the Mississippi Center for Justice. Those of you who give your time and your talent, in many cases your treasure, to make sure that the least of these in this state are represented. It's because of you that they have a voice when they would otherwise have no voice. I thank you for what you do each and every day for them. Yes, yeah. Give yourself a hand. Now, I've been told all my life, and I believe it to my very core, that to whom much is given, then much is expected. When you receive a lot, you should give a lot. And it's our calling, all of us in this room, to make sure that we make a path, that we develop a bridge that will allow others to cross over, otherwise they'll be left on the other side. And I think R. Sharp said it best when he said, "Isn't it funny how princes and kings and clowns who caper in sawdust rings and common people like you and me are builders for eternity. Each is given a list of rules, a shapeless mass, a bag of tools, and each must fashion, or ere life is flown, a stumbling block or a stepping stone." It's up to us to make sure that those stepping stones are in place, not for us, but for folks who we may never have the opportunity to even get a chance to meet, for future generations. So I implore you to continue to fashion those stones and be builders and not blockers. I thank you again for this award. I'm honored and I'm humbled that you thought of me in this manner, and I pray that God continues to bless you. Thank you.